Gold is a really weird thing, really sensitive topic to the government. The government hates gold, very sensitive to the price of gold. Like there's a long recorded history of like them slamming down the price of it, making sure they short it whenever it starts going up too much. Like, we got off the gold standard in 71, right? Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know why we did.
Because we were anchored to the amount of gold in the system, so we couldn't spend more money than that. But like once you get off that, then you're not really attached to anything. So that's when we start deficit spending.
That's fine.
You look at a chart of our deficit spending, it starts going crazy when we get off the gold standard.
Is that what that is right there?
No, that's
the price of gold.
Price
Okay.
of gold. So it's been ripping higher over the last few months, and there's a flurry of articles right now saying like Trump tariffs have the market scared. People are flooding to gold out of panic of Trump tariffs causing inflation, which is ridiculous because I made the mistake of I had an extra 10 grand during COVID, and I'm like, gold or crypto, and I did 9,000 in gold and 1,000 in crypto, and if I did the other way around, that would have been $1 million. So that's
How did you come across an extra $10,000?
well, because I was
COVID?
working a ton and lived at home at the time.
Oh, so you just stocked it away and then
Yeah.
okay. And so you bought how much in gold? $9,000?
Yeah.
And what is that worth today?
Like
18. Well,
it was at 1,800 then, so yeah, it's like went up like 30%.
That's still a good return. It's not
Excuse me, like
terrible. Not as good as
60
crypto.
Yeah, no, crypto would have been like 10,000%.
Okay.
So yeah, not good. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because they're trying to attribute the movement in gold to Trump's tariffs, like the threat of inflation from Trump's tariffs. But when inflation was brutal in 2022, gold didn't move at all. Like it was crypto and everything else in the world except for gold and silver moving up. So and remember after the Wall Street bets thing, they were trying to short squeeze silver. Remember there's some momentum about that online. They were trying to do that, but like there was like a ton of short selling pressure to slamming down the price of silver because it's like bad news for the banks and for the government if they let the prices of this get out of control. Because the price of gold right now, if we were still in the gold standard with the amount of money in circulation, it would be like $80,000 an ounce easy instead of $3,000 an ounce. So they like if they let it get out of control, you get what it's called a short squeeze, and then people start trying to buy shares. Like the people who shorted it to hold the price down, they have to find those shares and buy them so that they can't they stop losing money. So it creates this like perpetual effect. But what I'm getting at here though is that they're trying to create this narrative because this thing seems to be getting out of control, and I think I know why it's happening. If you want to go to the next slide. So and this is the price to borrow gold right now, like the lending market. So that's going crazy too, to short-term lend gold. Go to the next one. And so this is central bank buying gold. So the green, that's them selling gold. That's like back to 2010. Then the gold one is when they start buying gold. So they've been buying gold like crazy, and there's a reason for this. So if you go to the next one. Again, like buying until 2024. Keep going. And then, so you see, like, this is not a normal thing. The last time they were buying it at this rate was, like, in the 70s when we got off the gold standard, because they knew it was going to be a big deal. But very abnormal thing. Keep going. So there's this thing called the Basel III Endgame, which is requiring banks to have, like, a certain amount of, like, Tier 1 capital. And this thing made gold classified as a Tier 1 capital requirement. So before this, it was only U.S. Treasuries that were Tier 1 assets, right? Does that make sense? If anybody has any questions, by the way, jump in.
I've got so many, but it'll derail the entire. We're going to have to start at short selling. If I start asking questions.
I mean, if that's where you guys are at, then I have to backtrack.
No. Keep going. The rest of the guys are on board. The one slow person in the room is not.
I'm going to predict to the end. This has to do with the fear of the collapse of fiat currency.
No. So I mean, like, people have always felt that way, but the dollar is really strong right now. Like not in terms of inflation, but there's this thing called the DXY, which is like the strength of the dollar versus other currencies. So that is going up right now because our rates are higher than everybody else's. And when that's happening, it pushes the price of everything down. So gold shouldn't be going up right now, but it is because, one, the banks are buying it, they're stockpiling it. But two, there seems to be like a short squeeze going on right now with gold. And I think the reason that this is happening is maybe because they're not slamming it down with shorts right now because they're trying to blame this on Trump. Because I predict that there's going to be some kind of chaotic economic event because they want to sabotage what he's doing.
They who?
They who?
Yeah.
Like the people that don't like what Trump's doing.
APAC. Who? Come on.
What do you mean?
Sorry, I had to make that joke.
Well, they own the gold, so I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No, but you're right. But no.
No, they own the banks. The banks own the gold.
But they own the gold that's in the banks that they own.
I'm being serious. Who's
so,
they?
All right, so get this. So I have this long-standing theory that I think that very creepy people own the majority of the U.S. debt, like the people behind the Federal Reserve. That, it traces back to the Rothschilds. I'm sure they're not the only one, but I looked up who owns the U.S. debt the other day. Who would you guys owns the most U.S. debt? Would you say China, Japan?
I would say China.
I say Japan.
So international owners are only 20% of U.S. debt holders.
So who the heck is holding
Domestic, 80% is domestic, and like 29% of that is Federal Reserve. But the biggest category of it is other, just as other.
What do you mean other?
Like anonymous.
Who are they?
Exactly, and like that's who. Like that's like the biggest money in the
Hold on,
world.
that doesn't include. I'm gonna grok it. That doesn't.
Yeah.
The other does not include retail investors like.
No, yeah, it's like
common
private
folk.
investors. Because retail is a classification on this thing I was looking at.
Japan is the largest foreign holder, with holding probably 1.1 trillion. Okay.
Yeah.
However, when considering all holders, the U.S. government itself, through various intergovernmental holdings like Social Security, federal retirement funds, is the biggest holder of U.S. debt, with domestic institutions and the Federal Reserve also holding significant amounts. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Fed owns like 27%.
All right, so you're saying anonymous group of like evil, creepy dudes, quoting you,
Like the people who
is letting the price of gold get out of control so they can sabotage Trump's presidency.
because it destabilizes everything. Like if gold prices get too high, it's really bad news for the system. Because then people try to like if they flood to it and it screws everything up.
Screw what up?
The whole monetary system, it like delegitimizes the currency. Because if gold goes up,
Wouldn't be their best interest to keep the monetary system going?
not if Trump is like on the hot trail of exposing everything they're doing.
Can they fix it afterwards?
I mean, they could fix they could fix it for themselves to make it, I guess, like better than it is. Like, what's worse, having some chaos or getting completely exposed for everything you've ever done?
And it's pretty easy to clean things up when you own all the gold, as we have established.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that there's this organization that exists behind the scenes, whether it's a bunch of people working together
No,
or
but it's
a bunch of
important to know
individuals.
who those people are.
I know, but the fact that it's categorized as other and anonymous, it proves the fact that they don't want you to know.
Right.
Because I see the research
Who
that
is
Brandon
they
does
the people
every
that
single.
don't want you to know.
Thank you.
I see the level of research that Brandon does every.
Question.
If he can't find it, that means it's not there to be found.
Do you guys think the people on the top richest people in the world's list are the actual richest people in the world?
No.
Okay, good.
No, it's I don't know, Putin. They say that guy is worth
because
hundreds of billions.
Right, because he just takes all the money from the country. But their GDP is only $4 trillion, though. That's like less than our federal budget. So he can't be worth more than maybe, I don't know, $500 billion.
Okay.
And
then no. I don't believe that they are.
The values get mixed up when you start looking at like families and groups instead of individuals, because like if you try to find out how much the Rothschilds are worth collectively, it's impossible to calculate because you don't even know where their influence is or what their revenue streams are.
Well, they bought like 30% of the British debt in the 1800s. So like, what's that worth today?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
So the reason I'm building up to this though is because like if you're to look at this just as like a conspiratorial skeptical person, you would say like, oh, okay, it's because of Basel III, because Basel III is due by July of this summer, which means that the banks have to have a certain amount of gold, certain amount of treasuries, and they just allowed gold to be one of these assets that they could hold. So like reserve requirements, the fractional reserve system, you have to have like 10% of like the assets you have lent out in the bank, right?
I'm looking at course, I knew that forever.
Well, like, common sense, like a bank, you should have a certain amount of like actual gold or cash or something there if you're going to lend money out.
When you say, are you talking about like each individual Chase location or JP Morgan Chase as a banking institution?
As a unit.
That sounds like a reasonable explanation. It makes sense to
exactly.
me.
You're right. It sounds reasonable.
It's super reasonable.
But it's not that simple.
Come on, Brandon. You're killing me here.
So that's the logical answer. You could say, yeah, Basel III is happening right now, but I'm not buying it. I'm not, because I know these we're past statements. I know these fuckers don't want the gold price to be getting out of control because like
who are these fuckers? I need to date them for
the ones who have
first
been
time.
destroying the value of our currency. Like gold should be like $80,000 right now.
If people could name names on this, Humberto, don't you think we would be sitting here having a discussion about person A, B, and C are the ones responsible? Nobody knows. That is the point that we're trying to communicate. Is
So
that our debt is owned by people we cannot
all
identify.
kill ourselves working 10 hours a day to accumulate a fictional number in our bank accounts to be able to barely afford a house and barely afford food. And out of all of us, we don't know who's controlling this.
Because we're their debt slaves.
I don't know. It's too
I know,
far
it's-
fetched.
it's-
I don't know.
What do you think, Viva? You're logical.
Well, this goes past my level of understanding. I still have struggle understanding what the Federal Reserve is, which is neither federal nor a reserve, and they basically control the money, and they're basically unelected and unaccountable. Who is the guy? The Fed Reserve guy says like, if Trump tells you to leave, you're leaving. He's like,
Jerome
nope.
Powell.
Yeah, no, I'm not leaving. We're in control. I appreciate that the Federal Reserve is in more control of America than the government itself, and is not accountable to or responsible to, nor is it an actual federal entity.
Right.
But above and beyond that, audit the feds. I know that movement's going around. The lawyer that I do our Sunday show with, Robert Barnes, representing a guy, they want to audit the feds, or at least audit the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
I understand they are not good players in all of this, but I struggle to even put this into words.
Well, yeah, I'm putting together an episode, like a real deep dive as part 6 of my series about the Rothschilds, men who broke America, like deeply explaining how the Federal Reserve got started. Like, it's got started by 8 people, all who were front people for the Rothschilds that worked for like their banks, and like they faked a economic crisis in 1907 so they could justify getting a Federal Reserve in 1913. But like every aspect of it was corrupt and dirty the way they did. Like they just pulled a fast one on the population and screwed everything up. Like 1870 to 1913 was like the biggest period of economic growth we've ever had, and then they screwed it all up. But on that note,
You're gonna
Until
go.
next-
You're gonna go for
Oh
this.
wait, so that's it?
I mean, I don't know. It seems
So
like
we're just screwed.
no.
Price of gold's up. Globalists that are unnamed.
I'm just trying
own
to
it all.
I'm just trying to get ahead of the narrative there and trying to blame this on Trump because it's such an illogical argument to say that gold is going up because of tariffs. Like people are acting like tariffs are going to cause inflation, but they didn't say anything when inflation jumped up to 9% in 2022. It's at 3% right now. And they're freaking out. Went from 2.7 to 3%. They're like, "Whoa, inflation's getting out of control under Trump." But no, it went up to like 9% under Biden. Relax, guys.
Now, before we move on, I just need to address. You came dressed to present esoteric financial subjects today. Like you got the slacks and the fancy shoes.
I'm
gold
I'm
cross.
gonna go for the gold
Scrolled
cross.
crucifix.
part of the
like-
problem.
Exactly. Like, how do we know it's not Brandon who's been buying up all that debt, and that's why he's
wish.
dripped out today?
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.